Hello, so in this video today I want to talk about trauma bonding, why you still love a narcissist and how to stop. And I'm going to give you 10 tips that can help you to break the bond. One of the first questions a victim of narcissistic abuse is often asked after they reveal the depths of despair they were in during their relationship with a narcissist. The question is, why didn't you leave sooner? Or worse, why the hell did you go back? Now, victims of narcissistic abuse frequently leave the relationship because it was unbearable to be treated so badly during the devaluing stage, or they've been discarded when their narcissist moved on to greener pastures, but they often go back of their own volition, or as soon as the narc hoovers them back in. But the question is why? Why, when the relationship was so abusive and left them feeling so depressed and worthless, do they return like lambs to the slaughter? Now, the reason is due to trauma bonding. That's a term first used by Patrick J. Carnes, who's a PhD and founder of the International Institute for Trauma and Addiction Professionals. And he outlined how traumatic bonding occurs as the result of ongoing cycles of abuse in which intermittent reinforcement of reward and punishment creates powerful emotional bonds that are difficult to change. Trauma bonding is also often referred to as Stockholm Syndrome, and that came after a very famous botched bank heist in Stockholm, where the hostages actually formed bonds with their captors. But anyway, such theories of reward and punishment have their roots in classic psychology. And I remember B.F. Skinner and his rats experiments when I was studying psychology. And Skinner came up with operant conditioning theory, but I'll spare you the psychology lesson. What was important was that his experiments showed in very simple terms that if a rat pressed a lever and no food pellet was delivered immediately after the lever was pressed, and none after several attempts, the rat would give up. But if a food pellet was delivered intermittently, the rat would keep pressing the lever. And comparative studies, many of them have been done since, that show that playing the slot machines, gambling, functions in the same way. So the gambler will keep going and going and going in the hope that the win will happen. But what does this have to do with narcissistic abuse and trauma bonding? Now, according to Eleanor Greenberg, PhD, and an expert in all things narcissism, there are 7 stages of trauma bonding, and I'm going to run through those here with you, according to what Eleanor says. So, the 7 stages of narcissistic trauma bonding are stage 1, and you'll probably be very familiar with this if you're dealing with a narcissist and know anything about it. So, stage 1 is love bombing. The narcissist showers you with love and validation and affection. Stage 2 is trust and dependency. So, you start to trust that they will love you forever, and you now depend on them for love and validation. Stage 3 is when the criticism begins, and this is also called devaluing. So they gradually reduce the amount of love and validation that they give you, and they start criticizing you and blaming you, and they become demanding, and it gets worse and worse. Stage 4 is gaslighting, and here they tell you that this is all your fault, and if you'd only trust them and do exactly as they say, they would shower you with love again. They try to make you doubt your own perceptions and accept their interpretation of reality. And that's, of course, very, very dangerous. Now, stage 5, according to Eleanor, is control is established. You don't know what to believe, but you think that your only chance of getting back the good feelings of stage 1 is to try doing things their way. Stage 6, and this is when things get really, really bad, is resignation and loss of self. Things just get worse, not better. When you try to fight back, they up their abuse. Now you would just settle for peace and for the fighting to stop. You're confused, unhappy, and your self-esteem is at its lowest. And stage 7 is addiction. And at this point, your friends and family may well be worried about you. You know that this situation is terrible, but you feel that you can't leave because this person is now everything to you. You've come to just depend on them so much, and all you can think about is winning back their love. Okay? So that's what the stages of trauma bonding are. So in the first stage of the relationship, you're being love bombed. Like the rat, you're getting lovely pellets of food. You've learned to love and trust the person giving you that love. But then the love stops and the devaluing starts. But you're hoping that you can get back to the golden period where everything was glorious. And like the rat who keeps pressing the lever in the hope that more food will appear, you keep hanging onto the relationship in the hope that the love will return. Now, a narcissist will keep you on a psychological roller coaster, gaslighting you to make you think it's you who's got it all wrong and keep you addicted. So they will devalue, and then they will surprise you by turning the charm on full again, like that slot machine has just hit 3 lines and the money starts pouring out. And of course you get reeled back in. Now, the love chemicals are firing on all 4 cylinders in your brain, and you realise, and you think rather, that your narcissist really loves and cares for you because he's come back and he's shown you all this love again. And you think, well, maybe he's got some issues, if only he could work some stuff out. This lodges in your head so firmly because you're craving that feeling of being in love and you want those happy chemicals. So you'll make excuses, okay? Now, the narcissist is totally in control of you and your emotional merry-go-round. You're spinning in all directions and you don't know which end is up anymore. But any kind of addiction is toxic. An addiction to a narcissist is especially so because it leads you down a path of behaviour modification of yourself that's only happening because you want to keep your narcissist happy and you want those feelings of love and security back again. Now, this is when the erosion of self, loss of self-esteem and self-love start really kicking in. Because you start believing that when things go wrong, it's your fault and you need to work harder at the relationship. You need to be better. You need to stop being the cause of his or her troubles. You start blaming yourself and trying really hard not to rock the boat. Now, when you get into this line of thinking, you're already on very dangerous ground because the truth is there's nothing wrong with you. It's the narc who's playing his sick game, a game that he is incapable of quitting. And there's nothing you can do to not rock the boat because the narcissist craves stormy waters and he'll find a way to rock it. And before you know it, you'll be back in that place where you can't do or say anything right again. And so you might leave because it's become unbearable. But that longing, that craving to be back in the arms of your narc, it's all consuming. Because now you're like an addict. You're just like an addict without a fix, an alcoholic without a drink. You're so addicted to your narcissist that you're helpless when he comes crawling back in. And he will. It might take 20 years, as just happened with a client. 20 years later, he's come back and he's thrown her into complete turmoil again. So, how do you break this incredibly powerful and painful bond? So first, the good news is that it can be done. People do it all the time. Just like people quit smoking and drugs and alcohol, you can quit your addiction to a narcissist. So firstly, take some practical steps. So number 1, reach out to friends or family if you can for support and explain to them what trauma bonding is. Number 2, get out and about and do things. Take long walks, go to the gym or the cinema or the shopping mall. Just get out and about rather than wallowing in misery at home. Number 3, when you start feeling all dewy-eyed about the love you're craving and missing, hit the pause button in your head. Then change your position. If you're sitting down, stand up. If you're standing, sit down, and so on. Just do something to physically change your position. Number 4, so now with that button on pause, bring to mind the reality of what the relationship has or had become. Recall with as much detail as you possibly can how much your narcissist has hurt you, and really think about this. Call up as many incidents as you can imagine. Now, number 5 is to ask yourself, do you really want to go back to that reality? Ask yourself if someone who really loved you would do that to a person they really loved. And think about what love really is. What does love really mean to you when you get down to the core of it? Really, really think about that. Now, number 6 is imagine the golden period and see it fading from your mind, fading like a mist into the ether. Next, imagine there's a silver cord stretched between you and your narcissist. Now take an imaginary pair of scissors and cut that cord and watch him disappear like mist into the ether too. And then take a few moments to breathe and imagine, and this is number 8, imagine a stress-free, narcissist-free future for yourself. Okay? Number 9 is to keep positive. Now I know that can be really, really hard when you're in the throes of one of these relationships, but that doesn't matter. Start doing it and keep doing it. Keep telling yourself that you can and will get out of this and get over this. Find a phrase that signifies a happy, narc-free future for yourself and keep repeating that over in your head every time you start thinking the bleak thoughts. And number 10 is, if you're out of the relationship now, go no contact and keep no contact. Never let your guard down because he or she could come crawling back at any time. They can always find a way back, even after 20 years, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago. So always be prepared to shut them out without a word or a comment or a second thought. Okay? Now, this is by no means an exhaustive explanation about trauma bonding because it's a huge area, or indeed ways to heal from it. But these simple tips can help you to give yourself the reality check that you need to keep yourself away from your narcissist, and you will get stronger the more you practice these simple techniques. Okay? So, thank you for watching. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit like, and of course your comments are always welcome. I'm Maria McMahon, and if you'd like to know more about how I can help you to heal from narcissistic abuse, check out the links below where you will be able to connect with me. And of course, please share this video with anyone that you think it will help. Thank you very much again for watching.